Well, hi guys and gals. It's me, George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man. And this is the junk Onan engine that I bought. And my proposal is to take the point system off of here and put them onto my assumedly good motor. So the first thing to do is bolt this cover that covers up the points, and I believe that we are going to be able to retrofit the other engine, which has electronic ignition on it, but I believe we're going to be able to retrofit it and put points ignition on it. I'm trying to slide the wires out. Probably I should disconnect this wire. There's our points right in there. And it looks like I need a larger larger Allen to take that off. And then looks like a, what do we think? 7/16 wrench there. Take that off. Okay, let me get them and we'll do that. Okay, so I'm going to get this cover out of the way, and to do that I've got to unhook the wire, and I loosen up the Phillips screw on there, and we get this cover right out of the way so we can see what we're doing. And now I think this is a 3/16 Allen wrench. Yep. And we're going to take that bolt out right there. That holds that side in. And then on the other side we have a 7/16. Wonder if maybe I'd be better with a socket. It's loose enough. I think I can get it. Now that that's loose, I could probably just take that stud right out of there, is my guess. And get it lined up here. Well, maybe it's not that simple. Take the nut right off. I could take the stud out afterwards. And there's the nut off of the stud. And then we'll lift our points right up out of there. And right here is the rod that goes down into the cam, right in that hole there. And I'm going to have to get that piece out of there because I don't think it's on the other one. Let's go over there and we'll take a look at the other engine and see if we can reverse our process. Okay, here's the plate down in here that we got to remove. These two bolts. And it looks like I need a 7/16 socket. Let me see. I don't think I tightened them up real tight the other day when I had this apart. So I'll see if I can just loosen them up by hand here. It'd be a whole lot easier if I did it with a socket. Okay. Impact driver coming in. Oh yeah. Much easier. Much quicker. Okay. Now I need to clean my plate off of there. Okay, I took the intake manifold off while you guys weren't watching, and the exhaust manifold, so I could get down at this plate a little bit better, which needs to be removed. And I'm not sure exactly what's holding it. It seems to be at this point, but I can't get that to turn. I might have to ruin that because I tried to get it with my screwdriver here, and it just slips out of there. Let me get a bigger screwdriver, see if I can get a better bite on it. Maybe we'll squirt some WD-40 or PB Blaster down in there. Screwdriver ain't going to get it, so we're going to get some vice grips on there. Well, it's starting to sprinkle out here. We're outdoors, working under the roof. Let's see if we can get this to grab on here. Here we go. Let me spray some PB Blaster on that puppy. If I have to retap the threads at the top, that's okay, or I can even make a new stud as far as that goes. But we need this plate to go onto the other motor to get the right spacing for our points, don't you know? That took that part out. There we go. Now you can see what it looks like down under here. It's got this piece here that goes down in that hole, and that hole is where the camshaft comes, I believe. Yep, I can see the camshaft turning down in there. So let's take it over to the other one. We got to clean this plate off, and we'll clean this off. This looks like this one has been off before. It's got gasket maker on it. So we'll clean this puppy all up, and we'll get it installed in the other one. It might be tomorrow at the rate we're going because of the rain. So hold on to your hats. For me it'll be a little bit of time, but for you it'll be no time at all. Well, I've been beating on this thing and trying to get this muffler off, so give me a little more room to work down in here to put the points in, don't you know. But it wasn't wanting to come. It wasn't hardly even moving. And I'm using chisels and a hammer and air chisel, the whole 9 yards, and then I looked down underneath here, and there was 2 bolts right there. And I'll bet now a couple of whacks with a hammer and that puppy will come right off. What do you think? I think so. There it is. All that work. Don't forget the thing that George always says, work smarter, not harder. Continuing to get this cleaned up and ready to put our new point system back on retrofitting this old Onan. Well, it's a few days later now, and I've been cleaning up parts, and I found out that this threaded rod with a nut on it and a slot on the top, which appeared to be a factory thing, was not factory. I've watched a few videos online of other people installing points and so forth in their Onan, and found out that it had two Allen head screws that mount this down to the block, and actually goes through this. So they go right through here. And but what we got to do is we're going to have to set this in place first. Then we take our actuating rod and drop it down through there where it impacts with the camshaft lobe that operates the points. And then this one wasn't set up for it, but these originally had the condenser mounted right on here. Get this set up on here. It's originally mounted so that it sets right in the hole there. Well, I tapped it out so I could screw it on there, and I found a screw that matches, and this one had been drilled out, and they had run the power wire up through the top here, and it obviously was a homemade hole. It wasn't very round. So I've plugged that hole with a piece of a rubber end cap, and I flattened this out as best I could. It was pretty nasty. Eventually this whole thing will get painted. It's partially painted here already, but if we get this running right and we're going to put it in the Goofy cart, then I will be cleaning these parts all up. So and this screw here is the right one to go down through there. It was missing the washer, which according to the mark on there it originally had. So we've got that. So now we've got all our Allen keys here, and we're ready to go and install it on the motor. Okay, so you can see that I have cleaned off the plate there where the point system mounts, and I have cleaned up the original gasket that came with it, and so we're going to set this down on here now, and this is going to go right here like this, just like that. And this originally had a plate on it that just covered that area. And then we take our points. Oh, I almost got ahead of myself, didn't I? Before we put the points on, you have to put the rod in. The rod drops down into this hole here, just like that. Then the points go down on there, like that. And we take the bolts, the Allen bolts, see if I can get my right Allen keys here. I have 3 different sizes. There, we get that one started. These didn't have lock washers on them. I'm going to try it, but I think I think when I take it apart again to clean it, once we've got it running and we decide we're going to put it into the goofy cart, I think I'll probably put a little bit of Loctite on these screws. We're going to have to adjust the points, and it has an adjuster right here on it. That's tight, and that one's tight. And I wanted to show you, this is the original plate that went on here, and it was just bolted over the holes there to cover it. And you can actually see on the back side here, you can see there the outline of where the hole was that this rod came up and down in, but it was just blocked off. So that's a fortunate thing for me, because now I can retrofit this motor, which was originally set up with electronic ignition, but there's no spark. So I'm retrofitting it back to the points ignition, which seems like going backwards, but it was easier and less expensive to do that than to buy even used parts. I have to confess that when I bought the parts motor, I thought that it had electronic ignition on it. That's okay. It didn't. So now we're screwing our condenser down. And this wire, there's a notch right here. Maybe I should slide you down in there a little bit closer. There's a notch right here in the plate for this wire to go down through. And that's the way it's made on purpose. You have to push it in there, and then I put new ends on the wire. See that? And I have put shrink wrap on them, and that'll hook up here to the coil. Back you up here. You can see where I'm hooking it up to the coil here. This is the coil that came on the parts motor. I'm gonna have to do some investigation. I had bought a brand new coil to go with the electronic ignition, but I don't know if it's the same or not. So for this point in time anyway, we're going to use this coil. Now, the last thing before we put the cover on was we got to set our points. Now, from what I have read, the points gap should be 20 thousandths on these points. And so what you do is you crank your motor until you have the widest point gap. Now you can see they're closed. I think you can see that. Let me see if I get you down in there a little bit closer maybe. Okay, maybe you can see better now. I'm going to turn it until it opens up, and it appears to be open at its widest gap now. We're going to go for the 20 thousandth and it's a little bit tight, so we're going to adjust it. And the thing is, this is just an initial setting, because once you get it running, you can adjust these points and set the dwell and get it to the point where it runs the best. So we're all set there for now. And we're going to leave the cover off. I'll show you how the cover goes on, how it looks, just for your own reference. This is how the cover will go on, and it'll fit right snug down on there like that. And then the screw on the top, here goes down and screws that cover down. But we're going to leave the cover off for now. We're going to try starting this puppy. And if it starts, then we're going to readjust the points until it runs the best. Well, we've had rain for the last few days, and so I haven't been able to work on this outdoors. And I've been tinkering around with it today. I got the battery all charged up down there. I had one set of cheapo jumper cables on it, which should have worked, but I couldn't get the starter to turn. Took the starter off, cleaned it, and it worked fine on the ground. Spun nice. Thought it would work fine. But now, that's what I'm getting. I changed over to heavier duty jumper cables. And, well, I may end up having to buy another starter for this thing. Really not wanting to spend a whole lot more money on it, because I have no idea what kind of condition this engine is in when it all comes down to it. I've got it wired up. Hopefully our points are set enough to get it started. Got a gas line coming down from a tank up there. I have the fuel shut off at the moment. Well, I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and buy another starter. I'm going to try another battery. This battery seems to be fine. It took a full charge. And like I said, the starter worked fine on the ground. So I'm at an impasse at the moment, trying to get this motor started. It's been fighting me all the way along. Yeah, well, some days are diamonds, some days are stone. Sometimes the hard times won't leave you alone. That's where we're at today. This is May, I don't know, May 14th, is that right? Wednesday, something like that. So I'm going to see about getting a battery tonight, and I'm going to investigate a new starter. Have to make a decision. I couldn't leave well enough alone, so I brought over one of my lawn tractors. We're going to jump start it, see what happens. I'm going to turn the gas on. Get some gas into this carburetor. I have it set down at idle. See what happens. I still may have to get a starter. It doesn't sound the best. keep my wire hooked up from my coil. Everything is temporary here. Ouch. Come on. Okay, let's try this. Come on, girl. Getting spark at the points. Starter turns over fine on the ground, but it's not sounding good. Time for a new starter, for sure. We tried. Hold on to your hats.